Assalamualaikum and good evening. You're now with me, Yusuf Shukri, for TVS Nightline, and here are the headlines for tonight. As Gaza City faces unrelenting bombardment, AL-SHIFA Hospital stands as a shattered yet defiant symbol of resilience amid the chaos, and doctors pledge they will not leave the injured alone. The Transport Ministry is stepping up support for public transport drivers with a 3.5 million ringgit under the Lindungi Kendiri Social Protection Scheme. And in Sarawak, rising online scams and drug abuse threatens the state's progressive vision, prompting urgent calls for united action across all sectors. Drug abuse are growing social threats that could derail Sarawak's vision of becoming a successful and progressive state. To address these matters effectively, Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Ahmad Dr. Sim Kui Hian, called for a collaborative approach involving government agencies, enforcement bodies, financial institutions, communities and the public to unite, share ideas and find holistic solutions. He also warned that the rapid advancement of AI is making scams and criminal activities more sophisticated and increasingly harder to combat.
AI is too smart. With AI so smart, and so that we cannot say that Sarawak do not need AI. And so the bad people, the scammers, right, also continue to be smart, and they make use of all these sophisticated technologies to exploit the peoples, leading to a lot of financial consequences, emotional consequences, society consequences.
He added that the rising trend in online scams and drug abuse in Sarawak must be addressed urgently. As of August 1st, online scams have seen a sharp increase of 61% compared to last year. By July, 2,256 cases were recorded with a total estimated loss of 77.7 million ringgit. On drug abuse, Sim added more than 33,000 individuals have been arrested, and most of them are aged between 30 to 49 years old. On to our top story. Israeli tanks continue to advance amid a systematic destruction of Gaza City from land, air and sea. But for doctors at the major urban centers AL-SHIFA Hospital, leaving patients is not an option. The hospital was once the largest medical complex in the Gaza Strip, but most of it now lies in ruins after several rounds of intense Israeli ground and air sieges since the start of the conflict in October 2023. Palestinians still view it as a symbol of strength and resilience. A volunteer Australian doctor, Dr. Nada Abu Al-Roob, currently working at the embattled Gaza City Hospital, said the medical staff are operating in horrible conditions.
There's no equipment. They're down to the very basics, running out of working scissors. There's no soap in the theatre room to scrub in, no gloves, nothing at all. We're treating patients on the floor. The number of patients and the number of dead bodies arriving are ridiculous. So we're just basically people dead. We have more than 1,500 people still dead under the rubble in the hospital. Today they bombed just in front of the main entrance of the hospital. 2 days ago they did the same.
Dr. Nada first arrived in Al-Aqsa Hospital, where her patients were mostly children and pregnant women. She described the situation as disastrous, with no water, food, and those struggling to be alive living among the dead bodies scattered around the area due to strikes by Israel.
It was very common for a person to be the only survival of their family. Everyone has lost most of their family.
Meanwhile, Director of the hospital, Dr. Muhammad Abu Salmiya, is trying to lead by example despite the horrifying conditions. He spent more than 7 months in Israeli prison after being arrested based on unproven claims that Hamas was using Al-SHIFA as a base for terrorism. He recounted torture and humiliation in Israeli military detention after being released without any formal charges leveled against him. On Saturday, an Israeli air attack on his family home killed at least 5 people. Abu Salmiya saw the bodies of his brother, his sister-in-law, and the couple's children at Al-SHIFA. Al-SHIFA is just one of the many medical facilities that suffered near total destruction at the hands of the Israeli forces in Gaza, who have reduced most of the infrastructure in the besieged enclave to rubble. In a historic departure from decades of Western foreign policy, the United Kingdom, Australia and Canada have formally recognized the State of Palestine. The move, announced on Sunday by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, has sparked swift condemnation from Israel and intensified the diplomatic divide over the ongoing Gaza conflict.
I set out in July the terms upon which we would act in line with our manifesto to recognise Palestinian statehood. That moment has now arrived. So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine. We recognised the State of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also.
The recognition comes as global pressure mounts on Israel amid its prolonged military campaign in Gaza, launched nearly 2 years ago following the Hamas-led attacks on October 7, 2023. Reports also indicate that Portugal is expected to follow suit in the coming days. Britain and Canada are now the first G7 nations to extend formal recognition of Palestine, signaling a potential shift in the stance of other influential countries. Meanwhile, France and additional states are expected to address the matter during the United Nations General Assembly opening Monday in New York. This development marks a significant milestone in the Palestinian pursuit of statehood, long stalled by demands that recognition come only through a negotiated peace agreement with Israel. The decision places the three nations in contrast with the United States and Israel, which continue to oppose unilateral recognition. Israeli officials have strongly criticized the move, warning it could undermine security and embolden militant groups, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowing to challenge the decision during upcoming UN discussions. The shift in diplomatic posture comes amid growing disapproval of Israel's intensified operations in Gaza. The military offensive has led to widespread devastation, a soaring civilian death toll, and deepening humanitarian crisis, drawing condemnation from the international community.
Thousands of Filipinos march in Manila to vent their anger over a ballooning scandal involving bogus flood control projects believed to have cost taxpayers billions of dollars. Rage over the so-called ghost infrastructure projects has been mounting in the Southeast Asian country since President Ferdinand Marcos put them center stage in a July State of the Nation address that followed weeks of deadly flooding. Marcos has said early last week he did not blame people for protesting one bit, while calling for demonstrations to remain peaceful, though that only lasted in the earlier part of the protests. Groups of mostly young men threw rocks and bottles at police in two separate incidents, setting fire to the tires of a trailer used as a barricade near a bridge leading to the presidential palace. Police advancing behind a wall of shields arrested 17, mostly young people, in the first encounter. Barely an hour later, a second clash saw police use water cannon on another group of masked protesters. The day began in the capital's Luneta Park that drew nearly 50,000 people, according to city estimates. Thousands more joined in an afternoon demonstration at the capital's EDSA thoroughfare, ground zero for the 1986 movement that ousted Marcos's dictator father.
The people are tired, the people are fed up, and the lack of government action on this very long-running issue of corruption requires people to go to the streets and express their outrage in the hope of pressuring government to actually do their jobs, to do something.
Actually, isa po ako sa nakaranas ng baha sa Valenzuela. May time po na lumulusok talaga ako personally. And ang masasabi ko po doon, sobrang nakakahiya yung ganung gawain, knowing na kami, yung tatay ko, factory worker lang, tapos nababayad ng tax, yung tito ko, yung mga magulang ko, tapos ito lang yung nakukuha namin. Walang maayos na plano para dito.
The Department of Finance has estimated the Philippine economy lost up to 118.5 billion pesos from 2023 to 2025 due to corruption in flood control projects. Greenpeace has suggested the number is actually closer to $18 billion. Earlier this month, the owner of a construction firm accused nearly 30 House members and Department of Public Works and Highways DPWH officials of taking cash payments. The scandal has already sparked leadership changes in both houses of Congress, with House Speaker Martin Romualdez, a cousin of Marcos, tendering his resignation earlier this week as an investigation got underway. The Philippines has a long history of scandals involving public funds in which high-ranking politicians found guilty of corruption have typically escaped serious jail time. Now, a conspiracy theory is forming among netizens about text messages between Charlie Kirk's killer, Tyler Robinson, and his partner. Many, including social media users and prominent influencers, are questioning its authenticity, whether it had been fabricated by authorities. Many of the posts suggested that the language and tone of the exchanges did not match someone of Robinson's age, and the account of the shooting was too forthcoming and detailed to be believable. The texts were described as being too scripted or something that would come out on TV shows. Notably, at a time of extreme political polarization in the U.S., the conspiracy theorizing united figures on the left and right. Onto our headline, the Ministry of Transport MOT has allocated 3.5 million ringgit to safeguard the welfare of taxi, rental car and school bus drivers nationwide. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the funds are channeled through the Self-Employment Social Security Scheme, SKSPS, also known as Lindungi Kendiri. Anthony clarified that the funding was not derived from the government's budget, but instead was raised through the sale of Special Registration Numbers, NPI. He explained that the revenue from NPI sales allows MOT to carry out more welfare and road safety initiatives. The minister stressed the importance of continuing this effort to ensure the resources benefit those who truly need them. Previously, Anthony announced that starting January 1st, 2025, the government, via the Ministry of Human Resources and the Social Security Organization SOCSO, would subsidize 70% of the SKSPS contribution. Meanwhile, the MOT will sponsor the remaining 30% of the total contribution amount. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, KBS, is expanding its sports funding by directly channeling financial assistance to local tournament organizers. Its minister, Hannah Yeoh, said the initiative aims to give more young athletes exposure and opportunities rather than focusing solely on elite athletes. She explained that through the Sports Matching Grant, GPS, and the Community Sports Fund, more grassroots athletes can now benefit, unlike before, when only elite athletes had the means to compete internationally.
So instead of spending 78,000 on air ticket just to send one athlete overseas, you now have the opportunity by tapping into this fund to bring a world champion to Malaysia to have this seminar so that all of you have the opportunity to learn and engage and to be exposed to world standard.
Since 2022, KBS has focused on maximizing the return on each allocation by reducing unnecessary costs and ensuring that funds go directly toward athlete welfare. Hannah also announced reforms in education where combat sports such as karate are now officially recognized as school sports, not merely co-curricular uniformed bodies.
Implementing this reform is crucial as combat sports teaches discipline, emotional control, and also protects against bullying.
This year, KBS allocated 1.6 million ringgit under the Sports Matching Grant and Community Sports Fund, including an additional 120,000 ringgit to expand karate programs to 28 drug rehabilitation centers nationwide, part of efforts to give troubled youth a second chance. Hannah expressed hope that such grassroots initiatives would boost the performance of Malaysia's karate contingent ahead of the upcoming SEA Games in Thailand later this year. And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Yusuf. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum and good night.